Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Fullest podcast. I'm your host, Nikki Bostwick, and today's guest is Barrett Prendergast, who's the founder of Valleybrink Road and Barrett and The Boys, and the co-founder of a new brand that just launched in April called Mamamoods. Hi, Barrett.
Hi, everyone. So nice to be here.
So nice to have you join us. I am such a big fan of yours. I've been following along with you launching Valleybrink Road for a long time now, and I just appreciate everything that you do, and I'm so excited to finally have you on and hear your story. And having watched you grow your family, I'm so curious about just getting into growing your business while being a mom, and now a mom of three, and how you fit everything in, because you seem like such an involved mother, and I love that. And I know it's chaos a lot of times too, but the best kind of chaos, obviously. So
Exactly.
um, yeah, so I think maybe the best way to start, I want to get into kind of learning about all of your entrepreneurial endeavors. Did you start Valleybrink Road before you started your family, or was it all kind of simultaneous?
I started Valleybrink Road, yes, before I had Costa. And actually, Valleybrink Road now is a gifting company, but it actually started as a catering company. I
Wow.
think, I think I was around 30 when I started it. It started as really me just going to people's houses and cooking. I love to cook so much. And I worked in a restaurant for a while and I worked for some catering companies. And I kind of just realized that I didn't want to work in a restaurant and I didn't want to work for someone else. So, I launched it and would really go to people's houses and cook.
And your style of cooking is very like fresh and just like good. So did that just come from like the way that you cook for yourself, or did you have any training around it outside of like just working for the catering companies and restaurants, or?
Yeah, it was, I really kind of learned how to cook in college just watching so much Food Network. It's really how I learned. And then, I worked in a restaurant. I worked for some catering companies, and that's where I got a sense of the different kinds of careers you could have in the food industry because I was just, someone who liked cooking at home. But I always loved going to the farmer's market and sourcing incredible ingredients. And we're so lucky, we're in California and Los Angeles, and we just have so much access to incredible ingredients. And so when I started the catering company, I just felt like, most catered food just wasn't very good. To have someone come to your house and bring amazing ingredients and cook, for small dinner parties, that's really what the business was in the beginning. And I would, bring all these ingredients and prepare everything in someone's kitchen.
Wow, I love that. And how long did you do that for?
I probably did that for four years or 5 years. It sort of, once I had Costa, catering was nights, it was weekends, it's events. And I really wanted to be able to spend a lot of time with him. And then I also, had Paolo, and it just became a business that wasn't sustainable for, how I wanted my life to be with my kids and how much I wanted to be around them.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just so hard. You're always away from them whenever they're home. They'd come home
totally.
from school and I'd be like, "Bye, mommy has to go cook tonight." Uh,
Yeah, and you would have to go personally, like you didn't have
yeah.
other people going?
No, yeah, it was me. I had people helping me, but really people were hiring to have me come and cook for them.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. They wanted the experience of having you be the one, yeah,
Yeah,
making the
exactly. And so I kind of came to a crossroads with it. Did I really want to like grow a catering company where I trained people under me and had people going out? Or because I had already started doing the gifting, could I just focus on that where, I don't have to work nights and weekends. We have a warehouse. I can train people how to make gifts. We can fulfill and scaling that, which really allowed me to have the kind of day-to-day life with my kids that I wanted to have.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that a lot of women early on it's smart to think about that. And for you adapted your business and you had a model where, it was still taking a risk to do that, but you kind of had been incorporating it. So like seamlessly, I'm assuming worked, maybe glitches, but like I think about that a lot for women who, are in the restaurant business or are in these different businesses that they want the sort of lifestyle that you've been able to create for yourself, but then they're not necessarily thinking about it yet in the future. And it's like nice to think about it before you have the kids and then you're like, oh no.
I know. I mean, you never realize,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I love cooking. I could have my own business and it was wonderful. But then I had kids and then I wanted to have another kid. And I was like, oh, wow, like this actually doesn't work if I want to get home in time for bath time, if I want to be able to put the kids down, if I want to spend Saturday with them. But of course, I never would have even thought about that beforehand because I didn't know what it was like to have kids. I didn't know kind of like what those hours would be like.
Yeah, totally. I know. Cause it's like, oh, just like take a bath and put pajamas on. Like, how hard
Yeah.
can that be? But it's like 3 hours later, and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? It's
It's
like,
so true.
it's insane. So, as far as like your husband goes, do you guys work together or does he do his own thing?
So Andre is like a trained photographer. He was a photographer for a long time. And then when I started the catering company, for bigger events, he would always come help. He loves to cook too, and he is an incredible home cook as well. He's very good at making pasta, as you probably see on our Instagram. We eat a lot of pasta.
Yeah,
But he's a huge foodie, so he would always help whenever I needed it, and jump in, as needed. And then as Valleybrink Road grew, he was just doing more and more. He, did all the product photography for the website. He was doing all the photo shoots for the gift boxes. And so we got to a point probably 5 years ago where he decided to come on full time and help me grow the gifting part of it more. And so now, yeah, we've been working together for several years now.
that's so exciting. I love working with partners, but it also sometimes like depending on, some people love it and some people don't. So how's that? I mean, I've worked with my husband before, but for our family business with my dad, and it was my dad's business. So I think I was just like, this is not going to work. Like I'm so type A sometimes, but in my own business, I'm not. So it's really interesting how depending on like if it's your own business, it could be different too, working together.
I think the key for us has been that we have very different skill sets. And I think that that's something to think about for sure if you're going to go into business with your partner or bring them into your business
Yeah.
is what are you both contributing? And we do different things. So we're not micromanaging what the other person is doing. I don't know how to, use the camera that he's shooting with or do the photo shoots or anything like that, but I come and I pick the products and I style everything and he doesn't know how to do that. So I think that it's really been a nice pairing because we don't kind of tell each other what to do. We're like, these are your responsibilities, these are yours, and together we're going to, take care of what we need to take care of.
That's beautiful. I love that. And how is it with just like working together and the kids? I'm sure that just makes it so much easier, right? Like having your own business. And I mean, again, like we talked about, there's, it's, working from home and being with your kids, it's like such a blessing. But again, like even having this time for you to come onto this podcast and needing like actual quiet time is a big deal. So, how do you kind of navigate those two?
I think that it's about kind of like setting up systems and trying to be efficient with time. I mean, we're both really good about like using our shared calendar. I mean, Andre's out of town right now, so I have my nanny here helping me, but we're very good about communicating, okay, I need this block of time during this day. We also alternate the days that we pick up the kids. And I think that more than anything, it's just sitting down, talking about what each of you need in your days to get things done, and then kind of coming up with a way to allow you both to feel like you have time to do what you need to do. And so it's not just on one person who constantly feels like, well, I'm doing everything. I'm picking up the kids, I'm making the meals, I'm doing bath time, and I don't have any time to do the things that I need to do. And I think that oftentimes people fall into that, and sometimes it's hard to ask for help. A lot of people feel like, well, I just do it all. I'm like, but have you asked your partner, or have you asked the people around you to maybe come and help in any way that they can help? And I get it. For a long time, I had not been good. Like, asking for help is hard for me, especially with my business. But that's one of the, biggest lessons I've learned for business and personal, is really just learning how to communicate that you also need some support.
Yeah, I think it's really hard for a lot of people to ask for help, and they feel, moms that I know that don't work, I think feel more guilty
Yeah.
asking for help when it's like it's still a full-time job just being a mom and doing it all on your own, and emotionally so taxing that you need to be able to ask. Or I mean, I not that you need, and everyone's different, but in my opinion, like I would need like a few minutes, to just take a break and like realign with like yourself. I was just doing a podcast with Zach Bush, and he said something about, like, we were talking, and all of a sudden he said something about silence and how important silence is. And I was like, literally right before that episode, we recorded in Santa Monica, and I live in Orange County. So I had driven like an hour and a half with my kids in the car, and everyone was like losing it. And I
Mhm.
was just thinking, like, I don't, getting silence as a parent is really rare. So
It's
having, it's,
so rare.
yeah. And you forget that. I think because I didn't realize, like, wow, taking a second to just take a deep breath without someone being there to ask for something from you, or to even in your head feeling like, okay, I'm upstairs, but I could still hear them downstairs or wherever you are. Like, you could still, maybe you have help, but you could still kind of hear them. Like, it's really interesting.
I know my husband always makes fun of me because I never really listen to music or anything in the car. And he's like, "What are you doing?" Like, if I'm alone, he'll get in. He's like, "Why isn't this linked up? Where your Spotify's not linked up to this? What are you listening to? Where's your playlist?" I'm like, "Babe, when I'm alone in here, I just need some silence. Like, that's where I like, it could be 10 minutes going to the office, but I need that silence." And he thinks I'm crazy, but
That's
honestly, to
true.
not have to have everyone needs some moments where, at least I know I do, where I don't have any stimulation. I don't have all this stuff coming at me. I can just be still for a second. So I do that in my car in like the
I
moment
love
I'm able to.
I do too. I'm just like, I mean, I love how music can set a mood and like all that, but I'm the exact same where I'm just like, I just need to breathe. And, I typically do have them in the car. So it's nice when you don't, because you're using music as a tool to calm them down, and it becomes this whole thing. And it's just like better to just relax.
Sometimes I'll be driving and I'm so zoned out, I don't even realize that I've already dropped him off, and I'm like still listening to Story Pirates, or I'm still listening to the Power Rangers soundtrack. I'm like, oh my gosh, Barrett, turn this off. Like, how is this still off?
I know, I know. It's like the same for me with everything from like white noise to now I just like sing fire truck songs. Like,
Yeah.
it's so funny. That's what's stuck in my head. But yeah, so you mentioned just a second ago that you have an office. So how I kind of want to know like the setup, because, and I'll give you, I mean, just because I'm interested, but also because, so I have an office really close to my house, and then my husband works at his office, and then we have like a little preschool that my son goes to. So we're kind of like all like right within a few blocks basically of each other, and my husband's like 10 minutes away. So, but we're considering moving, and it's going to change all of that, and like our employees are going to work remotely and stuff. So I was curious how you guys do it since you work together. My husband and I won't work together if we move, but we'd be working out of the same house and having the kids there and stuff. So I'm curious, like, what your day-to-day setup is like.
So, right now, we are in the process of creating kind of a small home office in the garage that'll be done soon. And that will probably mainly be Andre's like home space. where he works from. Then we have our warehouse that's 5 minutes away. I mean, I really think, especially when you have kids, being able to create like a very close circle of all the things you need to do, especially in a city like Los Angeles where there's so much traffic and you could waste so much time being stuck in it. That's been a blessing, is that we have been able to create just like, everything's relatively close. So we have a warehouse that's 5 minutes away where there's an office in it where I go, and all of our fulfillment happens there. And so both of us go into there, but most of the time Andre is doing a lot of stuff from our house. And then for Mamamoods, I go to my partner Sonia's house because she has a back office. And so we work twice a week out of her back office there. And then, my two older kids are, one's in preschool, one is in elementary school, and then the baby is here. And so for part of the day, I have a nanny, and then at 2, she leaves. And so my afternoons are spent with the baby. And then, oftentimes like the carpool, and Andre and I alternate days for that.
Hi, everyone. Welcome again to the Fullest podcast. As you may or may not know, we've been sharing the benefits of saffron with our community for a little while now, and I want to offer 15% off our entire product line to our podcast listeners with code The Fullest Podcast at checkout online at thefullest.com. Growing up in a Persian family, I'd always felt the benefit of saffron in my life, but it wasn't until I stumbled on the research that it made me realize what powerful medicine it is. Saffron has been proven over and over again in clinical, double-blind placebo trials to be an effective form of treatment for depression, anxiety, and ADHD. Saffron has been used by many cultures for thousands of years for these purposes, and now the research is here to finally back it up, proving that plant medicines and ancient healing practices can actually be an effective alternative to pharmaceuticals. At The Fullest, we believe that incorporating this ancient wisdom into our modern lives is the most powerful and accessible path to healing. We also believe that everyone's journey is unique, so our product line offers a variety of formulas to help you curate saffron into your personal wellness routine. Warm Feelings is our saffron latte powder and comes in individual sachets and in large sustainable glass jars. Featuring 150 milligrams of high-grade saffron in a creamy bed of coconut and cardamom. It's the perfect coffee alternative and feel-good start to your day. If you prefer to pop a pill, Kinder Thoughts is our 30-day supply of saffron capsules, and it's a super simple way to support your body and mood with the power of saffron. Not to mention, it's really amazing for headaches if you feel one coming on. Our Saffron Soaks are the latest addition to our product lineup, which include Exhale, our saffron salt bath blend, and Inhale, our probiotic-rich saffron milk bath blend. Soak in them to support your digestion, inflammation, and support your skin microbiome. Honestly, at the moment, I'm using each of these products on a daily basis depending on my needs. And to help you begin your saffron journey, we're offering a discount of 15% off just for our podcast listeners with code TheFullestPodcast at checkout. I hope you enjoy your new daily saffron ritual. It's nice though, like you mentioned, to have something where it's like it's really close to your house, but you can go to it still. And then it's kind of like you're able to organize your days where you're like, okay, I'm gonna go and only work on Mamamoods here.
Yeah.
And then I'm only gonna work on Valleybrink Road. But what about Barrett and the Boys? Like, how does that kind of fit in? Is that something you do from home? I'm assuming Andre takes photos. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so Barrett and the Boys is kind of on my Valleybrink Road days too. So 3 days a week, I'm focused on those things. And lots of that, is oftentimes just like late at night writing in bed, or during the day, Andre and I will snap photos. It's less like, I don't really do photo shoots for it. It's kind of just raw documentation of our life and sharing those things. It's not so manicured. So that's been kind of easy. I actually think that I didn't want the blog to be another kind of like, oh my gosh, I have to, bring people in and we have to stage these photo shoots and the food. Like, I cook a meal and I take a picture in real time of what we are eating, or Andre helps me take a picture. so it's kind of like seamlessly a part of our life without having it have to be this extra thing that we're scheduling.
Yeah, that makes
That
sense.
that just allows me to be able to do it more. I feel like if it was this other thing that I had to allocate like a whole shoot day to or something like that, I would never get anything done for it.
Yeah, totally. But you have so much information on there, like sleep training and tips and all that. So how can you tell us a little bit about the difference between that and like and just getting into mama moods and what that exactly is?
So basically, so much, I mean, once I had Costa, really, so much of the community that I started to connect with, especially on Instagram, were all these moms. I feel like, before Instagram kind of came around or all these different social platforms, you would have a baby and you kind of be isolated. I mean, unless you had amazing friends who were coming over all the time. Um,
Yeah.
those early months, especially with that first child, can be, so much of this alone time. And each time I always had these other moms who were we were at 3 in the morning seeing that the other person was awake and this person was breastfeeding, and we'd be able to ask questions and talk about things. And it really became such a beautiful thing. A result of social media, at least for me, has been this community and this support and like this connection with women that I haven't necessarily met all of them in real life, but we're really in this journey and this phase at the same time. So I do feel like it's this support. And with Barrett and the Boys, I mean, I was just getting asked a lot of questions and a lot of the same questions. And I wanted to have a place where, one, I could put the recipes and share that with people because I love cooking so much. And I really want that to be something that is accessible to people. I don't, I'm not a chef. I don't make really complicated recipes. I think you should be able to make yourself something really nourishing and delicious in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, make recipes like that for people. And then just having a platform to share when people are asking me about sleep training, to be able to write it down so that everyone can benefit from, this is what's working for me. You might want to try it out, like all things with parenting. It might work for you, it might not. I don't think there's one way or anything.
Yeah, totally.
And so Mamamoods kind of came from that too. My partner Sonia and I really connected over motherhood and just kind of, when we both had our first children, we did feel a lot of this kind of isolation, and our friends changed because so many of our friends hadn't had kids yet. So they didn't really know what we would need or how to show up or how to support, or we didn't even know how to ask for it. We hadn't been through that before. And so we just wanted to create a platform and a brand that really celebrated, the highs and the lows, all of the moods that moms feel, and, be able to share different stories that people have, share your journey, and then also have like products that can just make us smile, make us laugh, make us feel connected, and just feel kind of like fun. And, it's all so intense to try and
Yeah.
just like a little humor to it, and also just hopefully like allow these moms to be seen and heard. And I just think that that's so powerful, and that's been such a special thing for me as a mom. Each time I've had a child, just like all this connection that I feel has been really helpful.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so Mama Mood is the platform that has the basically the like life apparel for moms,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then that's like building the community around, like you said,
Mhm.
moms feeling seen. And it's really interesting because at the same time as moms feeling seen, because the apparel has like, the little sayings on it to make you feel like more heard and seen, then other people who aren't moms or who are not in that stage anymore and kind of forget, or who are maybe women that don't understand, like it kind of makes you think about it a little bit more,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
Also is really cool about what you're doing. It's like, yeah, it's a shit show. Like, do you not remember or you have no idea, and like you're about to figure it out.
I mean, it's been so great. We've had so many moms who, have their kids are all grown up, but they're just like brought back to that place, and they, all those memories come back to them, and they're buying different things and they're laughing about it all, and they're still experiencing like so many of these emotions and things. It's not like your kids grow up and it goes away.
Yeah,
You're still feeling all of this stuff forever as a parent.
totally. It's so true. I was thinking my husband and I are considering moving to Ojai right now.
Oh, no, that's exciting.
I know, we're really excited. I mean, it's definitely so different than where we're at right now, but it's a big decision and we're like actively pursuing it. But I was thinking I have a Persian family that's every single person basically lives, other than like my one cousin or maybe two cousins, like everyone lives in Orange County. So
Mhm.
it's like a really big deal for us to leave. And I was thinking about my mom's very mobile and will like come anywhere, even though she's like kind of bummed, but she's like, whatever, I'll come there. I love it there. But my dad works every single day and he's really busy and has all these projects. So I was thinking about it from his perspective because he's like trying to be like, like you're an adult, you do whatever you want. But I was just thinking, like, I would die if my child wanted to leave me. Like, I can't. So I totally would understand if like he wanted to like sabotage our move or something. But it's
No,
so,
I mean, I totally get it, especially now with like our kids are so young and it's just like there's so much love, and I just
yeah,
can't even imagine not, it's hard to go away for a week and not see them, let alone have them be like, okay, I'm going to be moving and I don't know how often you're going to see me. I mean, my husband, his parents live on the East Coast, and I now
wow,
realize like how hard it's been for them, because he's lived in Los Angeles probably for over 20 years now, but
yeah.
he is their only child,
Oh my
and he got up and left 20 years ago, and they get to see him a few times a year, and
It's so
how
wild.
hard that must be, you know?
So hard. Like I would move. I
Yeah.
would be like, but then you have multiple kids, so then how do when with one you're like, you're never leaving me or I'm following you. But with multiple, you just have to surrender. Because it's like, yeah, I mean, I went and lived in Oregon and did stuff like that. Like you kind of, but when you think about like college, you're like, okay, whatever. It's like hopefully 4 years, unless they take a forever. But and they're just like, it's a block of time, they'll come back. That's like easier to accept because
Right.
you,
For most,
yeah,
yeah.
other than like,
Most
yeah,
people probably feel like it's okay. It's like a short period of time. I need to allow you to have
yeah,
that experience, but you will be coming back to me.
yeah, exactly. It's like this sense of and I have that like sense of wanting to control everything. Um,
Yeah.
So that obviously is part of motherhood, like letting go and stuff, but it's just really interesting.
I
But
know it's hard though. It's so hard. I mean, they arrive and it's just like we're trying so hard to keep them alive, to protect them, to feed them, to do the right thing, to teach them the right thing, to give them the love, to have the discipline, to have I mean, it's just, how could it not feel like I've done all this stuff? Like you can't go anywhere.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really interesting because my mother-in-law, she actually my mom and my mother-in-law are both really dedicated to taking care of their moms right now.
Oh
And it's
wow.
a really interesting time because their moms are in a position where they're fully relying on either a caregiver or them.
Yes.
And I'm watching both of them like bathe their mothers and do all this, and it's so beautiful and like really heart opening, but all and very healing for their relationship. But also
Yeah.
I'm like, at least they have their kids where like they have their own kids and stuff as well, obviously. But I'm like, what's going to happen when your mom passes away? Because that's obviously where it's headed and where right now it's almost like the same thing as when parents are doing everything for their kids and then they go, right? So
Mm.
and I'm bringing this up because I think when you pour everything you have into either your children or then later on your parents, taking care of them, it's like you are putting the rest of your life on hold in a way.
Yeah.
For some people who aren't working moms or who aren't working while taking care of their parents or whatever. And that's a really, really tough thing because then you feel like this is your identity and then you kind of can lose yourself a little bit in that. So what's your like just recommendation to moms who are feeling, like it's a lot for them or who are wanting to kind of prepare for that transition, whether it's someone passing or their kids going off to college or whatever that time period is that requires this transition, or even parents who like are getting divorced. I mean, I know parents who are like, I don't want to be with my partner, but I'm with my kids 24/7 and now I have to have 50-50 custody and I'm not going to be with my kids 50% of the time and that's like all I've done, you know?
Oh my God. I mean, all those things are so hard. I
Yeah.
I think so much of it comes down to, having purpose in life and this need, like feeling needed by something or someone. My husband's parents just retired, and you see this transition for them. It's really hard. They worked every single day for the last like 50 years. And now they worked so hard so they could retire, and now they've retired and they don't really know, like, what should we be doing every day? What do we do with our life?
Yeah.
And like, you have to go and you can volunteer places, you can go take classes in something that interests you. Like, you like golf, go play golf. Like, you have to start finding activities because you can't just do nothing. We need
Totally.
a reason to get up every day. And so I think you have to like diversify that reason so that it's not all just on one thing oftentimes.
Yeah, and it's funny because we're on the other side where we're like, we have all these things to do. Like, I can't even imagine, that, but that's just like maybe a time period in someone's life or, yeah, whatever that may be. It's like, I can imagine, but I'm sure maybe I'll end up that way. But I think, yeah, I think, like you said, just having this other sense of like, this is what I do that fills me up. So
Yeah.
it's not just, that constant need to be needed. Cause
And
then,
so yeah, I
yeah,
mean, so much of those things too is about connection. So it's like the
yeah,
connection to your children, it's the connection to your parent, it's connection. So then what are things you can do to feel connected to people? That's also like a helpful way, I think, of looking at it. And you could go volunteer. There's so many people that need help. There's a lot of ways that we can use, our skill sets and things to get that like needed input that so many people crave.
yeah, totally. So, one of my other questions was just like about if you think that there's still an expectation to be a perfect mom, because mama mood is definitely, I think, on the road to changing that for people if that perspective that hasn't been shifted. And have you ever experienced any sort of like mom shaming since having kids, whether that's from social media or out in the real world?
Um, the first part of the question, the perfect mom. I mean, I've never really felt that pressure, but I feel like there's a lot of that imagery, or there used to be a lot of like on social, there would be, the perfect mom dressed up and the makeup's done, and the children look beautiful and all that stuff. But I've just never been really drawn to that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'm like, I know that's not real.
yeah,
So
exactly.
nice photo shoot. But yeah, I feel like I've been really lucky. I have not experienced a lot. I mean, nothing even really comes to mind of like mom shaming that I have personally experienced. If anything, I feel like whenever, anything even negative might come up, people are so supportive. If they see I'm struggling with something, they're there to be like, it's okay. Like, you're going to get through it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been really, I know that a lot of people do experience negative things from social media, but in my experience, I've been really lucky that that hasn't kind of been a part of my journey with it so far. I mean, who knows what could happen?
Yeah. No, I think that's amazing. I think I mean, I personally haven't experienced it either. So I don't know if we're like in this bubble or if people are just more supportive of moms these days. I don't really know, but I haven't either. I was just curious because you obviously have a lot of content that pertains to moms,
Yeah.
and everyone has everyone just has an opinion about everything, you know? So even if it's not like I think that when it's not the way that they would do it, then maybe there's like underhanded comments or whatever that maybe people can make in person. But I think for the most part, it's never intentional, or you could tell that it's just like people always have their own, again, idea of like how things should be done or their own opinion, but everyone's entitled to thinking what they think too, you know?
Yeah, and oftentimes when people have given me an opinion or told me the way to do it, I kinda just feel like they're just trying to help, so I
Yeah.
don't take it in any negative way. I'm like, "Thank you for that idea," and I'm willing to try anything, especially, like, it's like, "Your kid's sick with this," and people are like, "Do this, do that." I mean, these are ideas, and I'll try it until something is working, and also the way that I share is I am not any kind of authority on anything. I'm experiencing motherhood. I have 3 kids, and here are things that have worked for me. Here are things that haven't worked for me, but I don't come from a place of trying to tell anybody what to do, and I hope that's how it's received, is like I'm sharing my journey, and hopefully that might be able to help you. And I really just don't think there's a right way. I think that there's so many different ways to do every single thing, and you find the way that works for you, the way that works for your family, and what your children respond to. Because I've tried a million things that didn't work for my kids, that people said, it works for mine, that's great. Like, but it didn't work for mine.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I think that you are this, you know, like you said, I mean, obviously you're looked to as an expert, but you're sharing as someone who's just experiencing it and sharing it along the way. And this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm trying, but I'm not necessarily like I don't know exactly sometimes what I'm doing, but this is what it is. But I wonder, to me, I think that it's so beautiful that you've chosen to share your journey and your experience, because there are a lot of moms out there and a lot of people who think that your life ends when you become a mom and you can't do anything else. And I think that the more people share like you, the more you can expand people's ideas of what it could look like to be a mom. And the fact that you have so many incredible businesses happening and you're able to also raise your 3 children and you've created this life that you feel has meaning for you as well, and you're able to be present and you've included your kids in that lifestyle. I mean, it's a huge deal to be someone who's sharing that with others and bringing that sort of content to social media, not like, I don't really know what's out there because that's all I see in terms of my feed, but there's other stuff out there that we don't even see because that's like our community, which is
Yeah.
crazy. um, but it's so important, and that's why I wanted to say I just really appreciate that, because it isn't always easy to share necessarily, and it can be vulnerable, or it can be like kind of maybe an extra task in a way sometimes, but then it can really shift someone else's entire trajectory of their life if they make a decision based off of like knowing that it can be done because you expanded their idea of what it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that things like that are what come from sharing. I feel like for me, when people get worried, like, well, I don't have enough money to have kids, or I don't have my life together to have kids, whatever kind of things we, tell ourselves. I just want people to know that, I didn't have anything together when I had just started a business. It's probably the worst time to have a child when I had Costa. But I just feel like children bring so much creativity and abundance and love, and like your life could unfold in a way it never would have unfolded if they hadn't kind of come into the picture. So if it's something you feel like you want to do, I really, hope people do. And that these silly things that we feel like we need to have, like these boxes checked before we, take that leap. I don't really think those things should stand in our way.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's so many reasons that you can write down like why not to, because you have to have X, Y, and Z going on before, but it all for the most part can fall into place and just be a beautiful journey that they are with you on. So I think that that's like important to remember. Or I need to have this type of body before I get pregnant. Or I need to have this. It's just like so wild to think the expectations that we have of ourselves in our lives before, which is, in some ways it's great to have an idea of what you want before, obviously, but I think a lot of times people just like take it or are really hard on themselves, I guess is the best way of putting it.
Yeah, we just have to learn to be flexible and maybe this was the idea, but it shifted and that's okay. And it doesn't have to be so like this is the only way because that's just not realistic about how life ever unfolds, at least probably for most people.
Exactly, and like that prepares you for being a mom because literally every moment is about adapting to the new situation.
It is. And we live in a time too where, there's so many things and careers and just ways that you can have a life that can allow you to, be a present mom too. I feel really lucky to be able to have, you know, a business that runs in the way it does so I can spend time with our kids. People can make income off of social media that allows them to be able to be at home more. Like there's just a lot of avenues. It's not necessarily like you have to have a job where you're somewhere from 9 to 5 anymore. So I think there's so many different ways it can unfold.
Yeah. Speaking of talking about like having them part of our journey, what is your screen time? Like, do you feel like having a business that it incorporates a lot of social media, which obviously most businesses do nowadays, makes it feel like I don't know. I guess my question is because I have to be on social media a lot of times too.
Uh-huh.
I'm just curious if you feel like it affects your kids' screen time, or if they feel like, well, you do it, so can I, do it.
So I try and be very mindful of being on my phone around them. And I know, like, the times around them in the morning and then after school, dinner time, bath time. I try to limit my own screen time in front of them. So when I don't really post in real time. Like, I'll take little snaps of things and put my phone down, and then I'll allocate, okay, once I have time and it's away from them, I can go for, 15 minutes and put it up so that I'm not just constantly on my phone scrolling. Oh, I need to put this up real quick. I try and keep them separate from that, at least right now. Obviously, it might become more of an issue once we're older. And Kosa's like, "What are you doing? You're always on your phone." But
Yeah.
trying to be really mindful of it because I also want them to know that I am, when I'm with them and I am paying attention and I am listening and all of, those things. But yeah, my kids do use screens. We have Friday night movie night. There's definitely times where I have to get something done or I have to have a call and they have to go on a screen. So I think it's just trying to find a balance. Also, some kids screens are a lot easier for them than others. Costa has a really hard time with screens. He has a really hard time with the transition. So oftentimes it's not even worth like letting him have the screen because once it's taken away, it's a whole breakdown. Whereas Paolo, he could have it and then, 15 minutes later, he's like, I'm good. And he goes on his own and leaves watching the TV to go play. So it also just depends, I
Yeah.
think, what kind of kid you have.
That's a really good point. I really like that, and I appreciate that you don't like, try and to be super mindful and you don't use it when you're around them and you take like blocks of time to do it. I think that's really smart because I think like you said later on, it could turn into like, well, you're on it. And I think that if we want to be the example of not being on it all the time, then
Totally.
it really starts with us. So I'm always curious what people do. But again, I think that when you do it that way, then it becomes a tool. Like you said, it's a tool that you're using because you might need to in a pinch for something. But if they're always on it, then it doesn't really work that way, you know?
Yeah, and it's easy easy to get sucked in. So I think just like being like, I can capture little moments. I'll take a picture, this, that, then the phone goes down. You're also just teaching your kids, like, we're not always on screens, but if you're always on your phone scrolling around in front of them, like, they're just going to learn that that's okay. Or if it's at the dinner table, it's okay. Or any of these things they learn from observing.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing about your life with us and just how you're balancing it all. Again, like I said, I really appreciate you for sharing it in general with on social media. I think it's so expansive, and I'm so excited to have finally, connected with you in real life slash squad cast slash podcast, whatever this is.
It feels like
This
real life nowadays.
yeah, exactly. The real life of how we can connect as moms. I mean, it's amazing though. Like, if we didn't have this, then we wouldn't probably, it takes so much time out of our day to go in person and to go meet and do it. And it's so special that way too, but it's less likely to happen. So,
Totally. No, this is perfect, and I so appreciate you thinking of me, and you have to keep me posted on Ojai. I'm so excited for you. I feel like that's a really amazing, leap that you're gonna take.
yeah, thank you so much. I actually just realized that you were there recently, right?
We
Or,
love Ojai. Yeah, we go up there a lot. We go to, the Ojai Rancho Inn. We go to the Capri. It's like an easy vacation that you don't have to, it doesn't take a long time to get there. So it's easy with kids. You like
yeah.
feel like you're away, but the ride was only an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly. It really is, and it's such a little sweet spot, and it feels
Yeah.
so grounded and totally special. So I'll keep you posted. You guys will have to come visit. We'll have a spot for you. I mean, you get so much more for what you get in LA and Orange County that it's like we'll have a spot for people to actually come stay with us if we do it.
Yeah.
So thanks again for joining us, and definitely you everyone listening, check out Valleybrink Road, check out Barrett's blog, Barrett and the Boys, and her new apparel line, Mamamoods. I love it all. I love what you've created, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing more with us.